So going guys, this will be our first weekly video update sponsored by Delta Exchange. So, if you want to support this and if you want to see these kind of videos coming out every week, you should sign up using my referral link here, and you will get deposit bonus depending, on whatever you deposit. Okay guys, so if you want to support this, make sure to sign up using my link. And let's get straight to it. All right, so we're going to start off here with some charts. I always use this kind of homepage looking at S&P 500, Bitcoin, oil, okay, gold, 10-year bond yields, okay, and the dollar chart, okay. And I just use this to get a feel about what is going on basically in the market, okay, and look for potential correlation, and then see, what kind of trends are moving, okay, in the overall market. So let's start off with Bitcoin, okay, which is probably the most interesting for most of you guys. We're gonna start off with a weekly time frame here because I want to give you a picture of what is going on. And I'm obsessed with fractals, but fractals basically is what is within certain candles, right? So within these candles there are certain data points. Within this structure there are certain data points, right? And within this whole structure there are certain data points that gives you an understanding of what is likely to happen next. Now the second thing I want everybody to understand and be on the same page, and I advocate this and I talk about this very often, is the time aspect. And that is basically that time sessions, okay, so daily sessions, intraday sessions, weekly models, monthly, yearly, 6-month, quarterly, everything is a fractal, okay, and we tend to move in certain ways. So when a week opens, we often point out where's the weekly open. We want price to trend above the weekly open or sweep into it and then look for continuation. So what that basically is that from week to week, all right? So if this is the weekly open, you want price to open and you're looking for a trend, okay, upwards trend towards weekly close, right? And the same goes for a monthly trend, right? You want, if you're expecting a bullish month, you want, you're expecting a low to form within the first week, or basically the first week within the month, and you're looking for a trend continuation towards the end of the month, okay? And the same goes for a daily session, right? So if you're looking at price in a bullish environment, right, and the daily and your intraday trading, you're looking for the low to be formed during a certain time of the day, right? And you want to take profit towards the end of the day when you're intraday trading, right? And the same would go for a bearish bias, right? So if you have a bearish bias, you want the high to be formed during the beginning of the week or the day or the month or the year, okay? And then you're looking to take profit during the expansion phase towards the end of the day, end of the week, end of the month, and end of the year, right? So considering this fractal, I want to point out a few things here, okay? So we're having a weekly chart here, and you can see how we're forming here a weekly consolidation. So you have this basically the shooting star, whatever you want to call it. People look at this candle as something bearish, when in reality it's not a bearish candle. What it represents is that above the highs, okay, is weakness, right? So when price extends into that weakness, buy pressure basically get absorbed by profit taking or whatever, and then you're seeing a retrace, right? A retrace, and then you see here price forming a consolidation within the SR of previous all-time high candles, okay? And then you see these wicks. These wicks represents liquidity, okay, and sell pressure basically getting absorbed during these lows, okay, creating more or less a high time frame support or whatever you want to call it, okay? So that is the fractal. And when we're going to zoom in, you're going to see the price action of this, right? And the price action of this, okay, will basically be that these wicks, right? What is wicks? Wicks are basically sell-offs, okay? And by the time of the close or the open, okay, price reclaims certain levels, right? So you're having here, okay, right there. So let's go to a smaller time frame and see what we are talking about. All right, so let's go to the daily chart, okay, and now you can see it. So these levels here, this is the wick, okay, that was formed. This is the wick to the bottom, right? And then you have the closest are within this tight consolidation, right? So what is weakness, right? So guys, it's important for you to understand what is weakness in price action. Weakness in price action is basically empty space gaps that are being created, okay? And these gaps or when these gaps are getting filled, are often good areas to take long positions or whatever, right? And especially do not want to short within when price is extending in towards or closing these gaps of inefficiencies, weak legs, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so often you will see this represent often as well in the volume profile, where you often see basically less volume or whatever, right? And then you often have higher volume during consolidations. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, what I want you to see here is that we had the weakness here, okay, and price extended higher, okay, and we closed in this weakness. Price found support exactly in the previous consolidation, okay, finding support. Price quickly or sell pressure gets absorbed, okay, and then we're closing and starting to trade and creating this consolidation, all right. And then as the week approaches, or the weekly open, again, that was yesterday to watch Asia, you see price is starting to expand due to liquidity coming into the market, all right. So you have an extension here in from basically the weekly open, right, the weekly open towards today's session. So now we got New York session coming in as well, okay, where liquidity will come back into the market. So for example, if you're looking to take a long position on Bitcoin, you want to use this time of the day. So for example, now, you know, if you are scalping, we will go to a lower time frame here to show you some better examples. So let's go to 4 hour here. I want you to focus on this last, let's go into a 2 hour chart. I want you to focus on this consolidation, right? So all of these price action are just fractal. So it's a repeating price pattern that occurs, you know, basically on all time frames. So, you know, it's regardless which time frame you're watching, okay, the direction of the market will always depend on high time frame. But, you know, when you are intraday trading, of course, you know, you have to look on lower time frames. So here on a 2 hour chart, you will see that this here is now the weakness that we talked about, right? So what does that tell us? That tells us that if the New York now opens, okay, and we get a sell-off back in towards this particular range, so you can look at this previous of consolidation, and you have these SRs, okay, which should represent liquidity into the market, okay, and then price should find support within these levels, okay, and then you want to see continuation basically of this trend. Okay, and that is how liquidity works, right? So if you are taking a low time frame long positions now, okay, you want to see a sell-off, okay, back in towards, you have a SR, okay, you have this prior consolidation, okay, and then you can, you know, for confluence, if you want, you can always use, you know, basically a fib level, you know, where the top happens, and see, you know, if you're gonna look for some confluence, and you can see that we have the OT and the golden target here as a potential, you know, support, you know, if this creates the high here, you know, and as price extends into these levels, you don't always need price to hit your level. What is important to understand is the extension that happens, right? So you want a similar extension back into towards your levels, right? So it means that you want to sell off regardless of how it looks like, okay, you want to use the time of the day here, and you're going to take an entry, okay, and then you look for a continuation here, basically to the upside, okay. So now we got that understanding out of the way, okay. We're going to zoom out back again and take a look at the 12 hour chart, okay, maybe even the daily chart. Daily chart might be a bit better on the eyes here. So looking here on a daily chart, I want you to focus on a few things here, okay? So now we have talked about these levels. So the liquidity that has been resting within these levels has now been used, right? So the liquidity that was waiting here has been filled, okay, and price is extending. Now, once price turns, okay, and if you do see a sell-off from either 70K, regardless of whatever that occurs, okay, the next level of liquidity will be this prior consolidation. At the lower spectrum of this, you got this clean SR and you got basically this void. So basically when price hits these levels, okay, we're expecting a reaction from price, okay, which would tell us that it will probably be a good entry, okay, and then you combine that towards, for example, an extension into that end of the week, the beginning of the week, whenever it happens, beginning of the month, okay, and you're making here an idea of what is likely to occur, okay, and then once price starting to move away from your level, okay, then you can start moving your stops closer basically to the low that has been formed, which will then be your invalidation of a continuation of the price move. All right, so I think that's enough about Bitcoin. Okay, it's not always about predicting what will happen, because as going into a long-term swing trade, entering at these levels, it's not my preferred way of trading. Okay, if I would take a position on Bitcoin here, then it would just be intra-week or intraday scalping, okay, and using these levels here as an invalidation of what is where price will go. All right, so let's go further and look at some altcoins, okay, which is much more interesting at this point. We're going to start off with Ethereum here on a high time frame, and just look at a few levels, and because what I want you to understand is actually what is going on within the price action we are seeing. So to expect deeper pullbacks, we often need to see more of inefficient moves. All right, so we need more or larger expansion candles to build up, okay, to weaken the price movement. So you can see something similar happening as we were in this consolidation, price expanding, okay, and once it reaches towards the all-time high, you're seeing the correction. Within this particular price structure, you see that we're having a lot of retests. The only gap that we have basically left behind is this weakness much lower, okay, which is at this point is more or less irrelevant, as we had this larger consolidation, okay, and this is what is holding basically the price within this move, okay, and then extending higher. And now within this consolidation, you can see that we have weakness, retest, weakness, retest, weakness, retest, weakness, retest. Okay, so it's a fairly healthy, okay, really decent price movement. So what I'm expecting right from Ethereum here is that we should starting to expand thin. Okay, so we need to see some similar price action as we did within these tops or within these tops. So for me, when I look at this price action, what I do see is that most likely we are making similar price pattern as we're seeing here, we're seeing at this level, right? So if we're getting a lot of buy pressure and sell pressure basically getting depleted, we could see a fairly aggressive movement to the upside. And at this point, I think it's likely that we're gonna hit maybe 6,000, depending, on the liquidity. Because remember that we're having this particular price move. Okay, it's fairly large, and we should see, an extension relative to this price move. All right, so let's go here, and then if you use simple fib levels, okay, just to point out some features here. So you're getting here the 100% extension right there, okay, and just use simple fib extension as well. You can see you're having a fairly decent confluence, as a first target around 5,500, okay, and then you're seeing closer to 6,500 here. You're seeing how most likely we're going to see some kind of a reaction within these particular levels, okay. Because when we're having price discovery, you just have to use fib levels, because what else can you use, right? Big figures and fib levels. So let's take this one off, and now we're having a few levels here that we are watching. So if you look close there, you can see how actually Ethereum does like the 20 numbers, right? So if you look here, you can see how we extended in towards 3,400. Okay, this was a big figure. And this as well was closer to 2,800, okay, and then we got closer to 1,800, okay. So that gives me the impression that 5,600 and 6,400 as well could be fairly important numbers. So take everything off, compress the chart, okay, and if you look at Ethereum in the past, you can see that you have a very distinctive personality of price action, and that is something like this, okay, and extends, okay, and then at some point always you get the pullback. But I want you to get the point, right? We're seeing very, how can I call it, more as a snake, okay, compared to other coins that has more of cycles, okay, doing like this all the way back down, doing some beautiful like this, and then extends. Ethereum here, you can see how price crawling up, back down, okay, and then most likely we're going to see some kind of extension. Okay, so basically that is what I'm watching, and if you want to compare it, you can just argue here that we're having did this kind of a wedge pattern, okay, and we're just finally breaking out, and we are now trading within price discovery, okay, and price will just extend until we hit a lot of weakness, okay, and then see a sell-off. If a sell-off occurs, where is the most likely price will go to, right? You're having this clean SR, you know, and then you have this SR just below, right? So back down towards the big figure 4,000 at some point will probably be, you know, a decent buying opportunity, right? So if you take on these levels, you can see this is my 4K level. So if price would extend in towards these levels, where would be the level to rebuy Ethereum, right? Rebuy Ethereum would then be back in towards the 4K level if that occurs, you know. And that is how you have to approach a price action. So if you go into a much lower time frame, if for some reason we're starting to extend lower, okay, where would be the obvious place to have important bids, right? The bids would then be in this previous consolidation, okay, which will most likely cap price if we do revisit those levels before, you know, we're getting an extension towards the 6K. So now we've gone through Bitcoin and Ethereum in much more detail. We're going to take a fairly quick look at some of these other layer ones here. So Cardano, if you do not get another extension lower, you know, I think most likely we're going to reclaim the 2.2 level here. Once this is reclaimed, you know, it opens the door because liquidity has already been used. So we're going to most likely see a more of aggressive move to the upside. So you want to see, let me take everything off so you can see it a bit more clear. So basically the point of this is that then you would see a similar price action occurring on the other side, right? And then sell pressure will be absolutely depleted, okay? And you will see an extension since liquidity has been used upon most of these levels, right? So then price will extend back towards all-time high to find available liquidity, okay? That's how I see it. AVAX, nothing new. You can see how we're just extending. Big figure 100, you know, most likely going to cap the price, depending, you know, how you look at it. We can also argue here that we're having, you know, let me show you something. So we're having 60. Okay, here is the 10 level. Let's check this one. Okay, this one is 60 as well. 80 level, okay, and then you have the 50. All right, so it's not too much to go on, but then you can also use some fib levels here just to get, you know, a sense of what to expect, right? So you're moving at the big figure $100, you're having the 0.25. Most likely it should give some kind of a reaction to price, okay, and cap price. You know, then you can start arguing, you know, how high, you know, if this does go parabolic. You have some other fib levels. Let's use, just want to use, just have a look. All right, so we got these two levels, decent. All right, so you're having a lot of confluence with the fib extensions, okay? So meaning that each of these levels you will then have around 100, 120, 150, okay, will be the levels to start laddering out of AVAX. Algo, nothing in particular, okay, looks decent. Solana, a week in towards these levels, okay, will be a place where I'm going to take profit. If you do get an extension up in towards the 300 mark, I'm going to take most of my position out. If you do get a retest back in towards this prior consolidation and this SR, I will most likely buy some more here and then looking for an extension, okay? And that would also set up a move that is even stronger than it is because we are picking up buy liquidity, okay? Let's check Cosmos as well. This was the overall level which I prefer to buy. Now, you know, we might not get that level. We do have some interesting level here. You can see extension back down into towards this prior consolidation, okay? We're consolidating. Most likely, or I'm looking at this as a potential continuation here. You know, we haven't really extended too much from the previous levels here, right? So we're creating here a consolidation, right? So if this is starting to extend, you know, we'll hold a lot of liquidity and we will see much higher prices. Now, keep in mind that we can have something similar price action within these levels, right? And then if you do get a sell-off, you would see this kind of price action occurring within these levels, okay, and then looking for extension. So there are two different trades. So there will always be a risk, you know, entering the market or being a part of a large extension, right? So we are already extended a much. If you are entering here, you know, you have to have your risk complacent, understand that you do have a large possibility that we might see a sell-off back down in towards this prior consolidation. Okay, so regardless, if that happens, you shouldn't beat yourself up. That will just mean that it will set up a fairly good buying opportunity. Okay, one more, Binance Coin looking decent. Okay, so we're just extending. The thinner this get, the high probabilities that we're gonna get a sell-off back in towards this clean SR. This consolidation would be a good buy opportunity. Okay, DOT looking decent. We do have a lot of room to go on DOT. Now, as a first or short-term target, the 60 level here should offer some kind of potential resistance here, right? And retesting this prior consolidation will be good levels to add, right? So if you do get an extension, sell off back in towards this prior consolidation, this clean SR, that will be a fairly good long opportunity. Okay, I've been waiting to add. I was hoping for this to drop a bit lower to add, but we didn't get that, right? So I'm just holding from these levels, all right? And then looking to take profit at this point or add to my position, whatever comes first. All right, so I have to include the fire starter in this one. Okay, flame looking decent here. I want to see these levels hold. So you see here, price came back closed in most of this weakness. Okay, and responding now, moving back up, picking up liquidity here. Okay, reacting, coming back down. So we closing. Can you see that this is a fractal? So this is a fractal of this, or basically the middle is a fractal of the overall price movement. So what we are seeing, right, is this gap getting close. So what we want to see now, right, is that we want this here to become a large bullish consolidation. Okay, it doesn't matter what price does. Once it's starting to extend, right, meaning that the liquidity that we have been building within these levels, okay, will create a fairly large extension to the upside. Okay, so that is what we are looking at for flame. Quick look at Luna as well, right? So here now, as we posted this on Twitter, extension upwards, it's not too much. One thing we know is that whatever price does, as far as it extends, once you're getting a appropriate sell-off, okay, we will be looking to rebuy. Okay, that's basically about it for Luna. Let's see if you got anything other interesting here. Let me take a look here. So engine coin as well, right? So if price, we're having here a large weakness. Okay, you have this clean SR. If price sells off back in towards closing in some of these gaps, that is when there is a fairly good buying opportunity, okay, to take price higher, because we do not want to buy these extensions, right? We want this pullback. So when we're having good pullbacks, closing in weakness, that is when you want to start buying into your position, right? So the same goes for Matic as well. So we're just going sideways. Say price is compressing. If you do get a sell-off back down into some of these important numbers, on target, OT, you have this consolidation, right? Price coming back in, enter, stop below this pivot or this pivot, okay, and then next all-time high, all right? What else can we take a look at? Same concept, okay? The Dogecoin as well, looking decent, okay, more or less. You're having this massive consolidation, right? If this massive consolidation breaks to the upside, you will see a fairly aggressive candle, right? So meaning that liquidity hasn't been picked up at these levels, okay, which would be then 0.5 big figure as well, first profit target, then back towards the highs, okay? Invalidation, of course, would be basically, just can't really have, a strict invalidation at this point, because, it's just a consolidation, okay? It's not an expansion phase yet. So meaning that price can sweep this in towards this level, so you just have to have appropriate size depending, on where you decide to put your stop loss. All right. So SRM, nothing more here as well, right? So we're still having, basically, if you want to buy some SRM or trade it, you're having the same concept here, more or less as Dodge, right? So just a massive consolidation. Your risk just have to be below this low or whatever. You have to have appropriate risk depending or concerning your size. Liquidity above these highs into this prior consolidation in towards the 10, 11 first target, then back towards the highs as second target. Okay, you're having same concept more or less on FTT, right? Same concept, clean SR. As long as we hold this SR level, doesn't really matter how we move. Okay, as long as we hold these levels, should be looking at all-time highs next. All right, Tomo chain looking decent at this point. Okay, so we can draw some, concerning that this is more or less similarities with this fractal. Doesn't matter how this moves, this is a consolidation. Okay, and what we want the expansion. Okay, so the expansion phase is what we are interested in. Okay, so that's about it for these coins. Okay, chain link as well, holding link, same concept, consolidation. Okay, this is the sweep, holding above. Okay, waiting for expansion, weakness, back towards all-time highs. Okay, that's about it. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. That's about it for today. Peace out.